At a luxury restaurant in Chicago, a white manager ordered a black waiter to remove a disabled mother and daughter over a minor bump. Instead of obeying, he chose to stay by their side, giving the girl a warm birthday celebration. When the manager returned and acted violently toward the child, the waiter immediately stepped in to protect her, an act witnessed by the restaurant's owner, who fired the manager on the spot. Before we dive in, what time are you listening? Where are you from? Drop a comment below and tell me. The morning sun filtered through the kitchen window as Marcus Johnson buttoned his crisp white server's shirt, the fabric still warm from Sarah's careful ironing. At 35, he carried himself with quiet dignity, his movements efficient and purposeful, habits formed by years of working double shifts at Golden Fork Restaurant. "Daddy, you promised we'd play catch today," 8-year-old Tyler mumbled through a mouthful of cereal, his Chicago Cubs jersey already grass-stained from yesterday's adventures. Marcus knelt beside his son's chair, adjusting the boy's collar with gentle hands. "I know, buddy, soon as I get home tonight, okay? Maybe we can work on that curveball you've been practicing." Sarah appeared in the doorway, her nurse's scrubs pressed and ready for her own long shift at the hospital. She placed a warm hand on Marcus's shoulder, their familiar morning ritual. "You're going to get that promotion, baby. Mr. Davidson will see what we all see." Marcus kissed her forehead, breathing in the scent of her jasmine lotion. "I hope so. We could use the manager's salary, especially with Tyler starting Little League." The drive to Golden Fork took Marcus through the changing neighborhoods of Chicago's South Side, past corner stores and community centers where he'd grown up shooting hoops and dreaming of bigger things. Now at 35, those dreams had narrowed to simpler hopes, providing for his family, maybe owning his own place someday, and showing Tyler that hard work and integrity still mattered. Golden Fork Restaurant occupied a corner building in Lincoln Park, its brass fixtures and burgundy leather booths attracting a steady clientele of professionals and families. Marcus had worked there for 8 years, earning the respect of regular customers and the grudging acknowledgement of management. He knew every table's quirks, every customer's preferences, every shortcut that kept the kitchen running smoothly during the dinner rush. "Johnson," Robert Sterling's voice cut across the dining room like a whip crack. The assistant manager stood near the hostess station, his blonde hair slicked back, navy suit impeccable. At 42, Sterling had climbed the management ladder through a combination of charm and calculated ruthlessness that Marcus had learned to navigate carefully. "Yes, Mr. Sterling. Corporate's sending some executives for lunch today. I need you sharp. No mistakes, no delays. This could be my shot at the regional position." Marcus nodded, swallowing his own hopes for advancement. "Understood. I've got the VIP section covered." The lunch rush was building when Linda Chen pushed through the restaurant's glass doors, her 7-year-old daughter Emma beside her in a small wheelchair decorated with Harry Potter stickers. Linda's black hair was pulled into a careful bun, her navy dress conservative and neat, the uniform of a woman trying to make the world see her daughter before seeing the disability. Emma's dark eyes swept the restaurant with curiosity and barely concealed hope. Today marked 5 years since the accident that had taken her father and left her paralyzed from the waist down. 5 years of physical therapy, medical bills, and well-meaning strangers who spoke to her mother instead of her. But today was different. Today was her birthday, and Mama had promised they would celebrate like a real family. "Right this way," the hostess smiled, leading them between tables where business lunches and casual conversations created a comfortable buzz. Emma maneuvered her wheelchair with practiced ease, but the tight spaces between chairs made navigation challenging. As they passed the bar area, Emma's wheel caught the leg of Robert Sterling's chair. The slight bump was barely noticeable, but Emma immediately stopped, her face flushing red. "I'm so sorry, sir, I didn't mean to." Sterling turned, his practiced customer service smile sliding into place. "No harm done, sweetheart." His voice was warm honey over ice, professional courtesy masking irritation. "Just watch where you're going next time, okay?" Emma nodded quickly, her mother's hand finding her shoulder. "Thank you for being so understanding." Sterling's smile never wavered as they moved away, but Marcus noticed the way his jaw tightened, the flash of something cold in his pale blue eyes. 20 minutes later, Sterling cornered Marcus in the service alley. "I need you to get rid of them." Marcus looked up from the water glasses he was filling. "I'm sorry, the woman and the disabled kid. Tell them we're fully booked." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. "But sir, they're already seated. They've ordered." "I don't care." Sterling's voice dropped to a hiss. "Corporate executives are coming, and I won't have them thinking we cater to charity cases. Handle it, Johnson, or I'll find someone who will." Marcus felt his hands trembling as he set down the water pitcher. 8 years of exemplary service, of swallowing his pride and biting his tongue, all balanced against the image of a little girl celebrating her birthday. He thought of Tyler's trusting face that morning, of Sarah's faith in his integrity. "Yes, sir." The walk across the dining room felt like a death march. Linda was helping Emma navigate the children's menu while Emma pointed excitedly at the dessert pictures. Marcus cleared his throat, hating every word before he spoke it. "Excuse me, ma'am? I'm terribly sorry, but I'm afraid we have a problem." Linda looked up, concern immediately creasing her features. "Is something wrong?" "We just discovered that this table was actually reserved for another party. They're running late," but Marcus couldn't finish the lie. The words stuck in his throat like broken glass. Emma's face fell, the light in her eyes dimming. "It's okay, Mama, we can go somewhere else." "But sweetheart, it's your special day. Please, Mama, I understand." The quiet acceptance in Emma's voice shattered something inside Marcus. This child, who should have been demanding and disappointed like any 7-year-old, was instead comforting her mother. As they gathered their things, Emma's composure finally cracked. "I'm sorry we caused trouble," she whispered to Marcus, not quite meeting his eyes. "I know my chair takes up too much space. I told Mama we should have just stayed home." Linda's face crumpled, but she forced a smile. "No, baby, this isn't about you. Some people just don't understand how special you are." They were almost to the door when Marcus couldn't stand it anymore. His conscience, 8 years of suppressed dignity, and the memory of his son's trusting face all collided in a moment of absolute clarity. "Wait," he called out, his voice carrying across the restaurant. "Wait, please." Linda and Emma turned, hope and confusion warring in their expressions. Marcus approached them, his decision crystallizing with each step. "I just got word, the other party cancelled. If you'd like to come back, I have a perfect table by the window." Emma's face lit up like Christmas morning. "Really? We can stay?" "Really," Marcus said, his voice steady now. "Happy birthday, sweetheart. Let's make this a celebration to remember." Marcus led them to a corner booth with a view of the small park across the street, where autumn leaves danced in the afternoon breeze. The location offered natural concealment from Sterling's usual patrol route, buying them precious time. As he helped Emma transfer from her wheelchair to the booth, he noticed the careful way Linda counted the bills in her wallet. "The lunch special is our best value," Marcus suggested quietly. "Includes soup, sandwich and dessert, and birthday girls get extra ice cream." Linda's grateful smile told him she understood. "That sounds perfect." As Marcus took their order, Emma chattered about school, her favorite Harry Potter books, and the magic spells she was learning to pronounce. Her enthusiasm was infectious, drawing smiles from nearby diners who couldn't help but overhear her animated descriptions of Hogwarts houses and Quidditch matches. "I'm in Gryffindor, like Harry," Emma announced proudly. "Mama says I'm brave, but I don't feel brave most of the time." "Courage isn't about not being scared," Marcus replied, refilling their water glasses. "It's about doing what's right even when you are scared." "Sounds pretty brave to me." Sterling's appearance near the kitchen doors sent Marcus into damage control mode. He quickly intercepted his manager, drawing him away from Emma's table with a fabricated question about wine inventory. When Sterling headed toward the restrooms, Marcus created another distraction, accidentally knocking over a bus tub of silverware that clattered across the floor. "Johnson, what the hell?" "Sorry, sir, I'll clean it right up." But Sterling was already moving, his predatory instincts sensing something amiss. Marcus's heart hammered as his manager's gaze swept the dining room, pausing on the corner booth where Emma was showing her mother a napkin she'd folded into a paper crane. "Excuse me, sir," a woman at table 12 waved her hand. "Could we get some more bread?" Sterling's attention snapped away, giving Marcus another precious reprieve. But he knew their time was running out. Sooner or later, Sterling would put together the pieces, and when he did, Marcus was refilling the coffee station when Emma's wheelchair appeared beside him. She maneuvered with impressive skill, navigating the tight space without asking for help. "Mr. Marcus," her voice was barely above a whisper. He knelt to her level, noting the serious expression on her small face. "What is it, sweetheart?" You don't have to keep hiding us, she said quietly. I saw the man in the suit looking over here. I know he doesn't want us here. Marcus felt his chest tighten. Emma, it's okay, I'm used to it. Her matter-of-fact tone was heartbreaking. At school kids pretend not to see me. Their parents smile at Mama, but they never invite us to birthday parties or playdates. I told Mama I had lots of friends coming today because I wanted her to be happy, but nobody was ever going to come. Tears threatened at the corners of Marcus's eyes. That's not fair to you. I don't want to get you in trouble. Emma continued. Mama and I can leave. We're good at leaving places. The resignation in her voice, the learned helplessness of a 7-year-old who had already accepted the world's cruelty, ignited something fierce in Marcus's chest. He thought of Tyler, safe in his world of little league and neighborhood friends, never having to question whether he belonged somewhere. You listen to me, Emma Chen, Marcus said, his voice gentle but firm. You deserve to celebrate your birthday anywhere you want. You deserve friends who see how amazing you are. And you deserve to stay right here and finish your lunch. Emma's eyes widened. But the man let me worry about him. Marcus glanced toward Sterling's office, then back at Emma's hopeful face. I have an idea. Do you trust me? She nodded solemnly. Marcus pulled out his cell phone, stepping into the service corridor where the noise would muffle his voice. Sarah answered on the second ring. Marcus, is everything okay? You never call during work. I need you to do something for me, he said quickly. Remember that craft project Tyler was working on? The wizard hat for his book report? The Harry Potter one? Yes, what about it? Bring it to the restaurant, and bring Tyler with you. There was a pause. Marcus, what's going on? He thought of Emma's sticker-covered wheelchair, her quiet dignity in the face of rejection, the way she'd tried to protect him from consequences he was willing to face. I'm about to do the right thing, he said, even if it costs me everything. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then we'll be there in 20 minutes. Marcus returned to the dining room to find Emma and Linda sharing a piece of chocolate cake, Emma's face bright with simple pleasure. She'd drawn a picture on her napkin, stick figures of her, her mother, and a tall man with kind eyes who she'd labeled Mr. Marcus. That's beautiful, he said, genuinely moved. It's us, Emma explained, having the best birthday ever. Marcus tucked the napkin into his apron pocket, right next to his heart. 20 minutes later, he was going to make sure that picture became reality, no matter what it cost him. Sarah arrived with Tyler in tow, both carrying a carefully wrapped package. Marcus met them at the hostess station, his wife's questioning eyes searching his face for answers he didn't have time to give. Trust me on this, he whispered, leading them toward Emma's table. Tyler, remember how you felt when kids made fun of your stutter last year? Tyler nodded solemnly. At 8, he was already developing his father's sense of justice. There's a little girl over there who needs to know she has friends. Can you help me show her? As they approached the corner booth, Emma looked up in confusion. Linda's protective instincts flared, her body tensing as strangers approached her daughter. Emma, Marcus said warmly, I'd like you to meet my family. This is my wife Sarah, and my son Tyler. Sarah knelt beside the wheelchair, her nurse's training evident in her gentle, non-threatening approach. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Tyler here has been working on something very special, and he thought you might like it. Tyler stepped forward, suddenly shy. I made this for a book report about Harry Potter, he said, offering the wrapped package. But I think you'd use it better than me. Emma's eyes widened as she carefully unwrapped the gift. Inside was a perfect replica of a Hogwarts wizard hat, complete with stars and moons embroidered in silver thread. Sarah had spent weeks on the details, never knowing it would end up as a birthday gift for a little girl who needed magic more than anything. Oh, Emma gasped, lifting the hat with reverent hands. It's real magic, put it on, Tyler encouraged, his own excitement growing. Emma placed the hat on her head and something magical did happen. Her entire face transformed with pure joy. She sat up straighter, her shoulders squared with newfound confidence. Now I have real magic, she whispered, touching the brim. Maybe I can fix my legs so Mama won't have to worry about me anymore. The words pierced every adult heart at the table. Linda's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled through them. Baby, you don't need fixing, she said softly. You're perfect exactly as you are. But with magic, you already have magic. Sarah interrupted gently. Look around, and Emma did look. The businessman at the next table was smiling at her hat. A family with children had noticed the commotion and were approaching with curious friendly faces. The elderly couple by the window raised their coffee cups in a toast. "Happy birthday," called out a little girl from across the room, waving enthusiastically. Word spread through the restaurant with the inexplicable speed of good news. Within minutes, Emma found herself surrounded by well-wishers, families with children, couples, even the kitchen staff who had emerged to see what was happening. "Make a wish," someone called out as a server appeared with a slice of chocolate cake topped with a single candle. Emma closed her eyes tight, her wizard hat slightly askew, and made a wish with all her heart. When she opened her eyes, the entire restaurant had begun singing "Happy Birthday," their voices joining in an impromptu chorus that made the walls ring with warmth. Marcus stood back, watching Emma's face glow with happiness. This was what childhood should look like, surrounded by celebration, accepted without question, valued simply for existing. He thought of all the birthdays she'd probably spent isolated, all the parties she'd never been invited to, all the magic the world had tried to steal from her. But then he saw Sterling. His manager stood frozen in the doorway leading from the kitchen, his face a mask of controlled fury. Behind him Marcus could see the restaurant owner, Mr. Davidson, arriving with what looked like corporate executives, expensive suits, briefcases, the kind of people Sterling had been desperate to impress. Sterling's eyes met Marcus's across the crowded dining room, and in that look was a promise of retribution that made Marcus's blood run cold. But then Emma tugged on his sleeve. "Mr. Marcus," she said, her voice barely audible above the singing, "this is the best birthday ever. Even if it ends right now, it's still the best." Marcus knelt beside her chair, taking her small hand in his. "It doesn't have to end, sweetheart." But even as he said the words, he could see Sterling pushing through the crowd, his customer service smile stretched thin over barely contained rage. The confrontation Marcus had been dreading was about to begin, and there was nowhere left to run. The singing died away as Sterling approached, his presence cutting through the celebration like a cold wind. Davidson and his companions followed, their confusion evident as they took in the scene, the crowded table, the little girl in the wizard hat, the obvious violation of Sterling's carefully maintained restaurant image. "Ladies and gentlemen," Sterling announced, his voice carrying the authority of management, "I apologize for this disruption. We need to clear this area immediately." The cheerful atmosphere evaporated. Parents pulled their children back, uncertain of what was happening but sensing trouble. Emma's hand found her wizard hat, as if the fabric could protect her from what was coming. "There's been a misunderstanding," Sterling continued, moving directly to Emma's wheelchair. "This family was never properly seated. I'm going to need to ask you to leave." "What?" Linda stood up, her voice sharp with protective fury. "We've been here for over an hour, we ordered, we ate." "Ma'am, I understand your confusion, but restaurant policy is to treat all customers with respect," Marcus interrupted, stepping between Sterling and Emma's chair. "They're customers, Mr. Sterling, paying customers who deserve to finish their meal." Sterling's mask slipped, revealing the anger beneath. "Johnson, you're out of line, get back to work." "No." The word came out stronger than Marcus had intended, carrying 8 years of swallowed pride and suppressed dignity. "I won't get back to work. Not while you're treating a little girl like she doesn't belong here." The restaurant had gone dead silent. Even Mr. Davidson's business companions stopped their conversation, sensing the drama unfolding. Emma pressed herself back into her wheelchair, her wizard hat sliding forward over her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I'm sorry I'm broken, I'm sorry I cause problems wherever I go." The words hit the assembled crowd like a physical blow. Marcus heard Sarah's sharp intake of breath, saw Tyler's confused face as he tried to understand why anyone would call his new friend broken. Sterling grabbed the handles of Emma's wheelchair. "Come on, let's go. You're disrupting other customers, don't touch her." Marcus's voice was deadly quiet, but it carried across the silent restaurant. "Don't you dare touch her. She doesn't belong here, Johnson. Look at her." "I am looking at her." Marcus moved closer, his body language shifting from subservient employee to protective father. "I see a brave little girl celebrating her birthday. I see a child who deserves better than your prejudice." "My prejudice?" Sterling's voice rose, drawing disapproving looks from the corporate table. "I'm running a business, not a charity ward for cripples." The word hung in the air like a slap. Several customers gasped audibly. Linda's face went white with shock and fury, but it was Tyler who moved first, stepping forward to place Emma's fallen wizard hat back on her head. "She's not broken," Tyler said loudly, his 8-year-old voice cutting through the tension. "She's magic, the hat proves it." Emma looked up at him through her tears, something fierce and determined replacing the resignation in her dark eyes. "I am magic," she said louder this time. "And I do belong here." Sterling's face flushed red. "That's enough. Security, there won't be any need for security." Mr. Davidson's voice carried the quiet authority of ownership. He was a man in his 60s, silver-haired and distinguished, with eyes that had seen enough of life to recognize character when he encountered it. He moved through the crowd with purposeful strides, his gaze taking in every detail: Emma's tear-stained face, Marcus's protective stance, Sterling's aggressive posture. "Mr. Davidson," Sterling's voice jumped an octave, desperation bleeding through his professional composure. "Sir, I was just handling a situation. I can see exactly what you were handling, Robert." Davidson's voice was ice cold. "And I can see how you were handling it." He knelt beside Emma's wheelchair, his movements gentle and respectful. "Young lady, I'm David Davidson. I own this restaurant, and I owe you an apology." Emma stared at him with wide eyes. "You own this whole place." "I do. And I'm very sorry that one of my employees made you feel unwelcome." "That's not what Golden Fork stands for." Sterling stepped forward, his career flashing before his eyes. "Sir, if I could explain." "Explain what, Robert?" Davidson stood slowly, his full attention now focused on his assistant manager. "Explain why you physically grabbed a disabled child. Explain why you used a slur that went out of acceptable business language about 50 years ago. Explain why you've created a scene that's traumatized a 7-year-old on her birthday." The corporate executives exchanged uncomfortable glances. This was not the professional operation they'd expected to evaluate. Sterling's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "I was protecting the restaurant's image." "You were protecting nothing." Davidson's voice rose, carrying across the silent dining room. "You were indulging your own petty prejudices at the expense of a child. In my restaurant. In front of my customers. In front of corporate executives who now get to witness the kind of management I apparently employ." The humiliation was complete and public. Sterling's face cycled through red, white and green as he realized his career was ending in front of an audience. "You're fired, Robert. Security will escort you out. Your final paycheck will be mailed." Sterling looked around the restaurant desperately, as if someone might intervene on his behalf. But the faces looking back at him ranged from disgusted to coldly satisfied. His prejudice had been exposed, and there was no coming back from it. "This isn't over," he hissed as security arrived to escort him out. "You'll regret this, all of you." But his threats fell flat in the face of overwhelming disapproval. As he was led away, the restaurant remained silent until the door closed behind him. Davidson turned back to Emma, his expression softening. "Now then, young lady, I believe you were celebrating a birthday." Emma nodded shyly, still processing what had just happened. "Well then," Davidson smiled, "would you mind if an old man joined your party? It's been a long time since I've been to a proper birthday celebration." The restaurant erupted in applause, not just for Davidson's decision, but for Marcus's courage, for Emma's dignity, for the triumph of basic human decency over institutional prejudice. Emma's face bloomed with joy, as she realized she wasn't just welcome, she was celebrated. "Yes please," she said, her voice clear and strong. "Everyone's invited. That's how birthday magic works." 1 month later, Marcus straightened his new manager's tie and surveyed the dining room of Golden Fork Restaurant. The morning staff meeting had just ended, and he was still adjusting to being on the other side of the podium. But the biggest adjustment was seeing how differently people treated him now, with respect that came from witnessing moral courage under pressure. "Remember," he told his servers, "every customer who walks through that door deserves our best service. Not because of how they look or how much they spend, but because they're human beings who've chosen to trust us with their time and money." The staff nodded seriously. Word of what had happened with Sterling had spread throughout the restaurant community, becoming a cautionary tale about prejudice and an inspiration story about standing up for what's right. Marcus had become something of a local hero, though he still felt uncomfortable with the attention. Mr. Johnson. The new hostess, a college student named Amy, approached with a reservation book. The Chen family is here for their Saturday lunch." Marcus smiled, put them at their usual table by the window. Emma and Linda had become regular customers, their weekly visits a bright spot that the entire staff looked forward to. Emma's confidence had blossomed in the weeks since her birthday, her natural personality emerging as she realized she truly was welcome at Golden Fork. Today she wasn't alone. 3 classmates accompanied her, real friends who had been drawn to her magnetic personality once they got past their initial discomfort with her wheelchair. They chattered excitedly as Amy led them to their table, Emma wearing her wizard hat with pride. "Mr. Marcus," Emma called out as he approached their table. "Look, Jessica and Katie and Michael came to have lunch with me." "I can see that," Marcus replied warmly. "And what's the occasion?" "We're celebrating Jessica's birthday next week, and she wanted to have her party here because I told her this is the most magical place in Chicago." Marcus felt his chest swell with pride. Not just in Emma's progress, but in what Golden Fork had become. A place where magic was possible, where differences were celebrated rather than hidden. "Well then," he said seriously, "we'll have to make sure it's extra magical." As the children settled into their seats, Marcus noticed Mr. Davidson approaching from his office. The owner had taken a more hands-on role since Sterling's departure, wanting to ensure that the restaurant's culture reflected his values rather than just his profit margins. "Marcus, could I speak with you for a moment?" They stepped aside, watching the children's animated conversation about school projects and weekend plans. "I've been thinking about expansion," Davidson said quietly. "Opening a second location on the north side. I need someone I can trust to manage it, someone who understands what hospitality really means." Marcus's heart jumped. "Sir, I appreciate the confidence, but I've only been a manager for a month. Character doesn't require experience, son. You proved that when you chose to protect that little girl, instead of protecting your job. That's the kind of judgment I want running my restaurants." Before Marcus could respond, a commotion at Emma's table drew their attention. Emma had stood up from her wheelchair, something that required considerable effort and balance, to reach across the table and hug Jessica. "Thank you for being my friend," Emma was saying. "Real friends are the best magic of all." The other children were helping her settle back into her chair with the casual acceptance that Marcus wished all adults could display. To them, Emma's wheelchair was just part of who she was, no more significant than Jessica's glasses or Michael's braces. Sarah appeared beside Marcus, having arrived for their lunch date. Tyler trailed behind her, carrying a small wrapped package. "What's that?" Marcus asked his son. "I made Jessica a wizard hat too," Tyler explained. "Emma said everyone should have birthday magic." As Tyler presented his gift to a delighted Jessica, Marcus felt Sarah's hand slip into his. They stood together, watching their son learn lessons about kindness and inclusion that no school could teach. "I'm proud of you," Sarah whispered. "Win or lose, you did the right thing." "We won more than we could have lost," Marcus replied. "Look at them." The table of children was now a rainbow of diversity. Emma in her wheelchair, Michael with his hearing aids, Katie with her thick glasses, Jessica with her shy smile. Different in a dozen ways, but united by the simple acceptance that childhood could offer when adults didn't interfere with their prejudices. Mr. Davidson cleared his throat gently. "So Marcus, what do you say about that expansion opportunity?" Marcus looked at Emma, who was carefully helping Jessica adjust her new wizard hat. He thought about the birthday party, where she'd felt truly welcomed for the first time. He remembered his promise to Tyler about playing catch, about Sarah's faith in his integrity, about the kind of world he wanted to help create. "I'd be honored, sir, as long as I can bring the same values we've established here." "That's exactly what I'm counting on." As the lunch crowd began to arrive, Marcus returned to his duties, but with a different perspective. Each customer who walked through the door represented an opportunity to serve well, to treat with dignity, to make someone's day a little brighter. Near the hostess station, Emma's wizard hat hung in a place of honor, framed and mounted where everyone could see it. Below it, a small plaque read, "In celebration of magic, courage and the belief that everyone belongs." Customers often asked about the hat, and staff members were always eager to tell the story. It had become part of Golden Fork's identity, a reminder that the most powerful magic wasn't in spells or potions, but in the simple act of treating everyone like they mattered. As Marcus watched Emma and her friends finish their lunch, he realized that she'd been right about magic all along. It wasn't about fixing what was broken, it was about recognizing what was already perfect, just waiting for the right moment to shine. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows, casting golden light across the dining room where children laughed, parents relaxed, and everyone understood that they were welcome exactly as they were. Emma looked up, caught Marcus's eye, and waved with the confidence of a child who had found her place in the world. He waved back, knowing that sometimes the smallest acts of courage created the biggest magic of all.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.